One day you'll buy a ride on a comet, and you'll ride into the sunset of a planet that's beyond it, beyond the wall of all there is. And you will stash it in your pocket, and you'll take it to Manhattan, man, where your grandma's 10 and you are 10. You're not a family man, you're best friend. And you will hold it together under the oldest running water of the river of each other, with the power of the future. One day you'll ride into the dawn.
To the channel, this is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk about episode 9 of Perpetual Grace Limited. We're on the elements of an epiphany, so please, if you have not seen this episode, we're going to hit you with all the spoilers. And I'm doing this, I'm going off schedule because my Epic subscription's about to run out, and I can't afford to renew it right now because I'm going to Wizard World tomorrow with my nephew, so I can take him to meet Zachary Levi, who played Chuck. Everybody else will say Shazam. I call it. He played Chuck. And my nephew really wants to see him, so I have to have enough money to do all this stuff, and so I had to cancel my Epics. That means I had to watch the last 2 episodes today, out of schedule. I'm not going to probably even, I don't know when these will be uploaded because I am going through kind of a bad bout of depression now. But I wanted to get them done, and hopefully you guys won't be able to tell, except I already told you, so cat's out of the bag, I guess. This episode is directed and written by Steve Conrad, so good on you, man. And it starts out in 1953, where we get to see just how long Donnie and Byron have been friends, sort of, or mates or orphan buddies, and how early on their criminal, murderous tendencies were showing up. And while I understand that they felt the need to protect themselves because clearly they don't say which one was hurt. I don't know if it really matters, but their discussion on how to, it's like adults, that go to prison, and the old cliche of, who you gotta hit to get left alone. But these kids, Byron and Donnie's language, it's very eloquent for figuring out who to murder, because they don't want to murder a tough guy because there's always another tough guy. You gotta find somebody that's just enough to let people know that it doesn't make sense and that these guys could do anything and to leave them alone. And so they decided to go after this guy Nigel, who helped him and gave him his pudding, somebody who's a friend. So basically just something diabolical, something evil, something that the kids, the other boys will know, but I want to say maybe the people running the place wouldn't know who did it. Maybe the kids would be too afraid. I'm assuming that that's the kid that they put all the bed sheets down. Oh, that was awful. And this correlates to where Pa and Ma are in the mattress store, which is like a front for the cartel, and him explaining to the mother of the boy he killed with the shoe how this one makes him feel. And while I believe that that's sort of true, I think that Pa's also manipulating the situation and trying to get sympathy from her, but also still trying to explain things, because Pa's kind of, he's a badass, and so he's going to be straightforward and explain to her, I wouldn't have done this. This boy, your son, was put in my path. He came at me. I got to him before he got to me. And that it's somebody else that caused this to happen. Like you and me, our paths would never cross. We would not be here if it wasn't for that person. And if you allow me to leave here, I will give him basically the Negan treatment, except with an aluminum bat, not a wooden one. And again, Sir Ben Kingsley, sorry, just knocks it out of the park. Every single line, just bam, grand slam right out of the goddamn park. we then see James and Walker, Texas Ranger. Again, him trying to explain his whereabouts because Wesley's had it. He has been there a while. He can't get any answers, but it's do or die for him because the town sheriff, is telling him, you've got one more day. You got to go. You're out of your jurisdiction. And that's one thing I guess I never talked about was him he's not where he's supposed to be. This is a passionate thing for him. Solving this case of Teresa, who we find out that's her name. This is very important to him. And, of course, it should be. But legally, on a legal sense, they're doing him a favor by letting him be here. And so, him coming at James, who he thinks is Paul, is do or die time. And, of course, because James went to see Beverly, which is Glenn's dad's name is Beverly, he gets him to, we assume that drunk dance fighting scene was him saying, you got to tell him if he comes to you that we were fishing. And so, they're trying to explain the connection also to how she died and the magic thing. So Paul has clearly told him the whole story about Teresa and that she must have drowned trying to do the trick after she escaped. Now, he doesn't tell him all those details, but he doesn't get a chance to because that is when the sheriff breaks in and tells him. And it's true. I mean, it's unfortunate that Wesley would have to go back to Texas and have this maybe unsolved, but jurisdiction is jurisdiction, and you don't really he doesn't have a case. He's got a lot of people with questionable things, but no real evidence. He's got his guts, and even though his guts are right, in a way that there's a lot of, he knows there's something going on, but he just doesn't know all the ins and outs yet. New Leaf and Pa trying to figure out if he's okay with what they're doing. And Paul explains to New Leaf why he stole his dad's money, Pa's money, in the first place, and that he was made to feel less than by his father, and that taking his money and trying to prove that he's smart like his dad, putting all the money in a stock tip and losing it, he knew that his dad would never give him the money, so he took it, and then he lost it. And then here we are, him just pulling scams all this time. And again, it just keeps going on with the motif of fathers and sons, absentee fathers and sons, and all that stuff. Everybody's got a father with, who's got their own set of problems. Even James with his astronaut father. And New Leaf wants to change his name to Space Junk. He's always changing his name to something that he seems is fitting for his punishment, basically for letting his family down. As a son, and now letting them do what they have to do to get the money that can help everybody. So he just feels even more down about himself. Hector writing down his story. I said in the last time that his Luis Guzman's character of Hector got a little bit better at writing, and I should preface that because it's better than it was. But it still feels like he's really writing like a kid's story, just with swearing, or kind of a pulp dime store novel. But he's writing the story that he thinks how things are going to go now. He's writing what he knows, but just changing it enough to make it sound like he's way cooler than he is. And while he says only love here lives here now, and lots of fucking relief. Which I absolutely get, but of course this is when Valerie shows up, and I want to thank her for I sent her Dana a tweet. I included her in the last share, and I want to appreciate that she reached out and thanked me for the tweet. That means a lot. It means a lot. It really does to know that. I mean, you guys don't have to respond. None of you guys have to respond to me, and it's nice to see that people, care enough about the people that are trying to promote the show, like I am, to reach out, even in the smallest way. And I really appreciate that. And even if I am kind of feeling really down in the dumps, I do want to make that clear that you guys have been really awesome. And I really appreciate the retweets and the support for this show because yeah, I'm gonna get off that because I'm already kind of today. So, but they have the Deloche wants his money. We can see that. Um, and Valerie says to Hector that if he can't get Pa back, she's going to expose him with the sexy pictures with the ball in his mouth. Which, I mean, I guess, I don't know like what the context would be. I mean, how he would answer it. I guess he could say, honey, I thought maybe you'd like that. Maybe, me being a little submissive. I don't know. But I guess if she showed it to her, like went there and showed her, then he'd be in some deep shit. And this whole thing with the coroner, Ichabod from Patriot. I know that's not his real name, or is that his name? I can't remember. I need to go back. I will be going back and reviewing Patriot, the whole thing, giving it. If I can do it with this show, I can go back and review Patriot. I'm going to start with season 1. Got to stay on topic. He's being creepy. He's been creepy, like they always, the cliche mortician. But he's just very serious about his job, and he's very poetic about it. With the description of the very poetic description of decomposition and how a body could become toxic and dangerous to people without, the person meaning to. And so this whole thing is not some sinister, weird thing. It's just him trying to get across to James that you have to get me the bodies because they are going to become toxic. Deloche and Walker. Now this was weird because at first I was like, why did he just happen to go into the same place that Walker's at? But it's because he saw a barber shop and he wanted a haircut. Although Deloche doesn't really seem like he needs a haircut. Maybe he needs a shave, a little bit of a shave. But it is a great scene, though, because you get Timothy Spall and Terry O'Quinn in a room together. It's like everybody just kind of keeps coming in and out of Terry O'Quinn's orbit, Walker's orbit, and we get to have these incredible scenes where these actors get to play off of each other. And so, like, just the whole description of, I saw you reading the news. Saw you reading the news like it was news. Like, it was from yesterday, but, you're reading it like it's news to you. Everything's news to me because I've just been in a whole long period of isolation. And just this whole rapport back and forth of like, do you prefer detective or ranger? I bet it's detective because detective is more precise. And you look precise. You look groomed. This is just all like really cool stuff. And that, Walker says, you can read this whole town. Basically talking about how the whole town's falling apart. There's only one successful business, and it's the saloon, and it's run by Pa, and he's the pastor of the town, and all that is very interesting to Walker, that in a town that's closing down, there are newspapers where you can read the news everywhere you go down the line. It's the bar that's still open, and it's true. If you've ever been to like a small town with not many businesses or businesses where there's a lot of open spaces, yeah, the bars, they're always busy. It's very sad. And I mean, seriously, it's true. I live in a small town, as I've said before, and living out here, the bars at certain times of day, like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, there's about 5 bars within spitting distance of me, practically. And they all do pretty well, while keeping businesses in the town are very, very hard. Although we do have a very interesting wine store here. It's very weird. It's like, I don't know. But, moving on. Sorry, everybody. Deloche needs to find a gun, and the way he feels is to find the gun is to find the bad news. And by literally reading the news on the wall, he sees that New Leaf's page is there, and he appears to be the town bad news. Now, it's also starting to make me realize that maybe the lens crafters failed because it's a failing town, and there's no market for lens crafters here. Maybe if he had gone to Austin or somewhere else, but I don't know. I don't know if they ever said where he was getting his, where his store was from, but this whole thing with New Leaf and Deloche is really great because it's these conflicting, like, New Leaf is trying to go, turn over a new leaf, although he's turning into space junk. And Deloche is considering him just who he thinks he is instead of what he could be, in the future. Like somebody, like if you're bad news now, you're bad news forever. And they're conflicting ideals about that. Timothy reminds me of Terrence Stamp in The Limey in this series. It finally dawned on me who he reminds me of. Now, not like he's not going to save his daughter from Peter Fonda, rest in peace, but he's got that kind of air about him. He just got out of a British jail. He comes all the way to America. He needs a gun. He wants his money, that kind of thing. He's all we need is for him to be like, tell him I'm fucking coming. If you've not seen Steven Soderbergh's The Limey, well, I mean, if you want to catch up on Peter Fonda movies since he's recently passed, The Limey is not a bad place to start. But Deloche is trying to find common ground. He's trying to convince New Leaf to sell him a gun that he doesn't want to sell because, New Leaf, you can't tell New Leaf anything. He doesn't want to be told. He's still got that kind of mentality. They discuss prison life, things like that. But then he finds New Leaf's weak spot, which is his father. And he calls him, well, if your father was open to, if he let the word pussy in, if he allowed the idea to come in and not do anything about it, then he is a pussy. And he says it in the most eloquent way, of course. And then do you want to get shot in the cock, the heart, or the face? But it's all posturing. And he doesn't do it. And he doesn't even take the money. He just leaves the gun and says, I'm space junk, and leaves. And then he goes straight. And this was where, Deloche takes the gun and, he gets what he wants because Deloche is, like Pa. He's able to talk people into things. Kind of the way Paul, that's one of Paul's only kind of gifts, I guess, is that he's maybe got the gift to do the same thing as his dad. Just definitely not as eloquent. But I like that when New Leaf leaves and he gets, he's kicking the glass, which, Chris, that must have been a blast. That must have been a blast to do. But he heads to where he really needs to go. And when he opens the door and there's James and they hug, it's like such a sweet moment that, like, it's him, like, I don't know. It just really touched me. The cartel mom heads to Hector. And I'm not trying to gloss over the James and New Leaf thing, but basically they just cannot keep going over the plan. But the cartel mom of the guy who was killed by the shoe goes to Hector. Now, Pa had just said, I know who it was that did this, and I want to hit him with an aluminum bat. Now, is he talking about James or Paul that he thinks is James, or is he talking about Hector, or both, or all? Because when Hector was in that room with her, I was thinking, is this a setup? Because honestly, the man who put her son in that cell was Hector. Now, it was James with Paul's guidance that got this all going. But still, if you run up the food chain, Hector's the last person to be seen with her son. So I was getting really nervous for Hector here. And we see like more of that scene where Jimmy crashed into the glass. And I'm going to live on the glass. Showing just how broken he really was in that moment. And Glenn finds his dad, finds the astronaut. And I guess he must have gone all the way to Austin. But this is a really, really sweet moment again because he sits down next to him. He's like, you got to live in the future. The present is the future plus 1 second. Or the present, I can't remember how he said it, but it's like now plus 1 second. And that you live on Earth, man. I know you don't like living on Earth, but you live on Earth, and so does your son. So stop being a pussy. And I thought, the first thing I thought was, special boy indeed. Glenn does his special boy. He does what a special boy would do for another special boy, which is help him out and try to repair the relationship between. He helped Glenn with his relationship with his father, and now Glenn's returning the favor by tracking down the astronaut, which is just, wow. And the astronaut follows him, and they get back in a truck, and we can only assume that he's going to have a reunion with James. Now, who's in that spacesuit? I don't know. I don't really care. I don't care if he never takes the helmet off. I thought that was beautiful. And that's one of the things, again, that when people talk about the show that I've had in the comment section, like, it's speeches and doesn't mean anything. And it's like, you really, this is poetic. This is beautiful. And while the show could be, it's full of symbolism and metaphors, and maybe people are feeling like a little intimidated, like maybe it's too smart for them or something, that they can't get there. But it's just beautiful. And we don't see shows with writing like this, like pretty much ever. And I'm just so happy that while I want everyone to watch this show, I realize that that might not happen for a while. And I'm just hoping that people, when they do find it, anybody that I know that has found this or Patriot can't believe that they've never heard of it. And so I don't know if I got to build like a fucking bat symbol with Perpetual Grace Limited on it, shoot it into the sky. I'd have to go to a bigger city because it wouldn't do any good here in this town. But whatever I got to do. That's why, like I said, if anybody attached to the show, anybody that's out there that watches these, if you could just send me a message to where I can find the T-shirts for Patriot or Perpetual Grace, I would love to be able to wear those in my videos so that I can get more of the word out, because my T-shirts do get a lot of comments. So it's I'm kind of a pop culture billboard by choice. And I would be proud to wear Perpetual Grace Limited stuff if there is any out there. Heck, man, if I have to, I'll try to find a printer where I could take a picture and have them put it on a T-shirt for me. So anyway, that's the elements of an Epiphany. We are going to be back with episode 10. I've got to watch it right after this because I've got about 11 hours and 6 minutes before my Epic subscription runs out. And so, like I said, I don't know when this will be uploaded. I'll probably send out a tweet to everybody that eventually the episodes are recorded. I just want to make sure that they're good before I send them out. I'm feeling, when I get this depressed, it's very hard for me to upload because I don't feel like anything's good enough. And it could always be better. And right now my frame rate's acting all weird, even though I'm supposed to have like insane speed, but it's just shit in the bed. So if you like this review, please hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe, share this with your friends. That if you like this show, spread the word. I don't care about my subscription count. I don't care about my likes. If you like the show, spread the word and share this video. Again, like I said, I don't care about my own self-promotion. People need to see this show so that we can get more stuff from these people, because they're good at what they do, and they obviously have talent that wants to be involved in their show. So this is Robert Smirking Gun Review saying have a great day, and we'll be back with episode 10 sooner rather than later.